The microphone now. Thank you, Anne. Hi. Hi, I'm Michael Whitehouse. This is Michael Whitehouse live, now simulcast on 2 forms of media. Hangouts, now with sound. Facebook Live, always had sound. Go you. I'm still kind of feeling out. Thanks, Nick. Still feeling out, different mediums to see which one works best. Interestingly, you can't do Facebook Live on the computer, as far as I can tell. So here, I'm putting them closer together, so now I'm getting picture-in-picture of my own face. It's freaking me out. Okay, so we're going to talk about a few different things tonight. Glad I've got some people watching. Good. We're going to be talking about what that noise is behind. No, we're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Facebook Live, because I'm using that in social media platforms. We're going to be talking about the salesman mindset. Yeah, I know there's a list of other things I said we'll be talking about, and we might get to those. The importance of printed materials, not just because I sell them, because they're actually an important thing to be aware of. And also a little more about Facebook, its advertising, and its ever-changing systems. There we go. And I'm going to talk a bit about prospecting. I've actually had multiple requests to talk about prospecting in terms of how to find customers, be it networking, cold calling, how to figure out the first step of the 7 steps of the sale, and then the 6th step of the sale, closing. We're going to talk about that a little bit and how to hopefully convert some of those prospects into actual paying customers. So let's see if I can move this closer. No, that doesn't work at all. And you can just see the other things in the way. Still experimenting. I can see all my stuff. Good. All right, we're good. All right, Facebook Live. So one of the interesting things about this amazing time we live in is that there's a fantastic array of technology available largely for free. Hangouts, free. Facebook Live, free. They all do subtly different things. Facebook Live gets it out to people. I have currently 5 viewers on Live and 1 viewer on Hangouts, but Hangouts, when it's done, is going to put it directly on YouTube. With a tiny bit of editing, when I cut off that piece in the beginning, it will be a video that people can go back and watch, which is phenomenal. Facebook, when it's done, will put it on my Facebook news feed, which is kind of good, but makes it a lot harder to share and much harder to reference in the future. This is why I have 2 devices, my phone sitting on my computer, so I can broadcast both ways. This is better live, this is better recorded, so we do what we can. Always experimenting. If anyone knows of any other platforms to use, I'm happy to try them out. I'm not married to any of these. I am married to Amy. Amy is jealous. If I tried to marry YouTube, she would kick YouTube's butt, believe me. So one of the great things about the modern times, we have these resources. So I can say, I want to put a show on, and boom, I have a show on. I need to promote it in some way. I'm not going to get 50,000 followers just for coming on and being like, I got a show, watch my show, because anyone can do it. But you have the opportunity, if you have something to say, if you're decently good at saying it, you very much have the opportunity to set up, to get a show, to get a following, and to brand yourself, which we're going to tie back to in prospecting a bit. But the thing you have to remember about this is, back in the early aughts, I call them the aughts. Other people call them other things. But I call them the aughts. Most things in the internet, there are a lot of things in the internet that were free. People got used to being able to download music for free, and basically stealing. People got used to stealing and not getting in trouble for it. So they would steal newspaper articles, they'd steal books, they'd steal magazines. It was the Wild West. You stole what you could steal. And a lot of companies were almost supporting that. Amazon, for example, Facebook as well, that they were in investor land. They were trying to build their following. They're trying to build their market share. They didn't need to make money. They needed to make market share, because market share would be monetized in the future. So they're giving away this, that, and the other thing. They were selling. James is stealing my simulcast. That's cool, as long as you steal it and share it with people, because I'm trying to build market share right now. I'm not trying to make money. So steal this cast. Spread it for free to anyone who could use it. The now you stole my train of thought too. So that was what was happening at that point. And there's still plenty of free content on the internet, like lots of free blogs and free advice and whatnot. But a lot of the platforms, like say Facebook, have come to that point in the future where they actually need to start making money. Facebook is probably the most powerful marketing platform that has ever been available to business. And the cost to use it is the lowest of pretty much any marketing platform that's been available to business other than standing in the town square and shouting. You can access hundreds or thousands of people for a very small amount of money. Now, they have been shifting. In the olden days, way back in times of yore, I'm talking about like 2012, you could have a Facebook page, a business page, and you get likes, and then you put stuff on it, and the people who liked it would see it. And people got used to that. That was a pretty cool thing. You could have organic views. The problem is you can't pay your bills with exposure. Yes. And literally just finish my sentence for me in a Facebook message. The problem is you can't pay your bills with exposure, and Facebook certainly can't pay their bills with your exposure. So eventually, somehow, they had to figure out how to monetize it. Well, this show, I don't know if the viewers from last week are still here, but this show, I put $20 into promoting the Michael Whitehouse training page. By the way, for those of you who are watching on live, Michael Whitehouse training, it's a page. Go to it, like it. I put $20 into sponsoring the page and promoting the show. It was seen by 1,600 people. You put $20 into radio ads, you get one spot for 60 seconds. Unless it's a better station, in which case $20 gets you nothing at all. So you put $20 in TV, gets you nothing. $20 in most platforms will get you absolutely nothing. However, and if you look at larger, say a $500 budget, you have $500 marketing budget. You put that on the radio, that's like a 2-day campaign. The newspaper, that's like one spot in a newspaper about this big, this big. See, yeah, it's not even rectangular. It'd be like one trapezoidal spot. Thank you, Chris. Chris just joined. Chris just liked the Facebook page. Be like Chris, like Michael Whitehouse Training on Facebook. Doing a lot of thumbs up thing. So as a side note, I have ADD. Now, most of you who know me probably would have no idea that I have ADD because I don't medicate it, and that would mean you probably really know I have ADD. But and especially when I'm distracted, you can really tell. But I'm going to try to actually squeeze some content here. Probably take this video, re-edit it into something that actually makes sense. Would be great. Where was I? Oh yes, yeah, $500. I'll get you a small ad spot on in a newspaper. It'll get you a day, 2 days on TV. $500 on Facebook gets you 100,000 views. And the thing is, traditional media, you can't track your views. You don't know how many people are watching. Yeah, sure, there might be 50,000 people watching the show, but you don't know if they're getting up and going to the bathroom during the commercials, because when the commercials come on, you can avoid them pretty easily. You look at the newspaper, you on the front page, there's no ads there. You turn to page 3, oh, look, it's 3/4 ads. I'm just going to skip that page. I'm not going to look at it. Facebook, it shows up right there in your news feed, and it is for the most part, targeted to what you like to see. You'll generally find, and my news feed, the ads have been full of get paid to speak and become an entrepreneur ads lately. It's like they know somehow what I'm trying to do. Weird. Now, they're not perfect. I did, as some of you may be aware, especially anyone looking at me on Facebook right now, there is a certain presidential candidate that I support. It's not Donald Trump. And I put up just experiment. I put up a T-shirt on T-Chip and attached a Facebook ad to it to see if I could raise some money. Yes, feel the burn. Thank you, Joseph. Maybe raise some money and donate to the campaign. So set up the ad. People who like Bernie Sanders don't like Hillary Clinton, and I thought that might work. Well, I started getting comments, not too many, but like 2 or 3 comments from people who were like, "I hate Bernie Sanders. I'm voting for Trump all the way." Facebook supposedly mines all your data, reads all your messages, knows you inside and out. You'd think they could figure out the difference between a Trump supporter and a Bernie supporter. I had someone comment on it, and he's like, "I don't know why I'm being served this ad. I'm not a pinko." To which I commented, and I'm very upset about that because I told Facebook I wanted only pinkos to see this. So hopefully no one's actually offended by the pinko word. I have a question here. What about people who use Facebook Purity and Social Fixer to avoid ads? So I don't think ad avoidance is that common anymore, because the cost-reward ratio is fairly low for the user to use apps that will block ads. It's a cat and mouse game. Facebook knows about the apps that are out there blocking Facebook ads, and then the apps are trying to avoid it. But Facebook tries to make the ads more and more organic. I wouldn't want to block Facebook ads. The stuff on the sidebar I don't even notice, and the stuff that's in line is often stuff I want to know about, or at least it's relevant to my interests. So a lot of people don't do it for that reason. A lot of people don't do it because it's not worth the effort. It's one item in your newsfeed of hundreds of items, so why block it? I don't think it really affects it that much. I also don't know if it blocks it from being counted. If it blocks it from being counted, it makes it basically completely outside the calculus anyway. But yeah, it's not like, say, television, newspaper, which readership, viewership is declining. I don't have cable. I'm not going to see a TV ad. I don't listen to the radio that much. My current car, it's a bit of a hassle to connect Bluetooth. Not that much of a hassle, but I'm in the car for 10 minutes at a stretch. So I just listen to the radio because it's easier than connecting to Bluetooth. If I drove long distances, I probably wouldn't listen to the radio that much. I try to listen to the radio because there's especially the local radio, because I'd like to hear what's going on. Of course, most radio isn't local. That's why I like WBLQ, where I have my show tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. WBLQ and WBLQ.net. But I like those kinds of things, local radio. But radio that's playing just pop music and commercials, I can do without. So that you have to really offer something that's different if you want to be traditional media and really compete there. So that's enough about Facebook and the note which I had, which the note was, the title of that segment was "Quit Ya Bitchin' About Facebook." So to conclude, and getting back to my note that says "Quit Ya Bitchin' About Facebook," is that even though they've changed it so you can't get as much free viewership, they have added things like Facebook Live, which I now have 14 people watching. That's great. I keep doing this thumbs up. Yeah, now on Facebook mindset, I'm like. The key to comedic timing is not to lose your train of thought when you tell a joke. You're like, clearly need to go to bed and wake up before. Thank you, whoever gave me that like there. I should probably really just take the day off on Tuesdays. Because what could go wrong with just skipping a day of work every Tuesday? I'm sure nothing would ever go wrong with that plan. So then I'm rested up and ready to do this show. Nothing could ever go wrong with skipping a day of work. That's not advice. Don't skip a day of work every week. Something will go horribly wrong with it. That's a bad plan. All right, next we're going to talk about the salesman mindset versus what I'm going to call the Mrs. Hayes mindset. In a video that I did earlier, I called the teacher mindset. I realized as soon as the word came out of my mouth that some teacher would watch that and be like, "What do you say about teachers?" Not the teacher mindset. Many teachers are awesome, are very good at their jobs, are very good at engaging the students and keeping them on board. So I call it the Mrs. Hayes mindset because Mrs. Hayes was my teacher in first grade, who caused me to go from a energetic, excited, loving, learning kindergartner to a kid who wouldn't pick up a book for a year or two. Why would you send me bad news in these comments? Why? Why would you tell me about Hillary winning? Don't worry about the bad news. Not important. Nothing happened. So she maybe go from a enthusiastic, my comments are gonna make me talk about politics, aren't they? You guys are gonna make me talk about politics. We'll get to it. We'll get to that. Not yet. Let me talk about Mrs. Hayes first. So I was an enthusiastic, knowledge-loving kindergartner, and through the course of first grade, my mother described the process as watching the light go out in my eyes. Fortunately, she found a wonderful private school called Sudbury Valley, which she sent me to for the years after that. But she had this mindset that I'm about to describe. So her attitude, and the attitude of many mediocre teachers, is that it is the student's job to pay attention and listen, because the teacher is providing them with such valuable information that they must listen. They're obligated to be interested. Whereas the salesman's mindset is that the audience is not obligated to do anything. The salesman is obligated to be interesting. So I see a lot of people fall into the Mrs. Hayes mindset. A lot of salespeople do. They'll be like, that stupid customer, didn't he realize that I was offering him a tremendous deal and he wouldn't take it? What the heck is wrong with him? Well, nothing's wrong with the customer. The customer doesn't owe you anything. The audience doesn't owe you anything. You need to be interesting. You need to be engaging, and you need to explain what you're trying to explain. And there we go. The good news. You're distracting me with the politics again. I'm not distractible. Not focused. I'm focused. Focused. You need to be. Okay, I'm going to go on a tangent for a moment. So today is April 26th. As many of you know, it is what has been referred to as the Acela primaries, because it's apparently most of the states the Acela train goes through. And 3 months ago, everyone was like, April 26th, April 26th, the primary will be completely over, and we'll just go to vote just because we want to vote and want to be like, look at us, we voted. But somehow, bizarrely, the primary I'm voting in is probably going to be the deciding one on the Democratic side. What happens tonight will probably determine if Bernie's going to stay in the race till the end, but it's going to determine if he's got a just mathematical chance or not. So I was thinking the polls close at 8. I go online at 8. I obviously can't be watching poll returns while I'm online. That would be bizarre. That would be distracting, horribly distracting, and I'd do a terrible talk. But then I did Facebook Live, and fortunately people are watching them for me and making sure I'm horribly distracted. But you're still watching me, so I apparently am not giving too terrible of a talk. So that's that. Back to the mindset. So yes, it is the salesperson's obligation to be interesting to their audience, to engage them, and to think about what they want. This gets back to that WIFM, the what's in it for me, the what's in it for me mindset, thinking about what your customer, what your prospect wants. When I was selling cars, I would have times where a customer would come in, and I always liked educated customers, because educated customers know when they're getting a good deal and they know when they're getting a bad deal. Now, salespeople like to rip people off like uneducated customers, because they use all kinds of manipulation techniques, so things are fast and furious enough you don't notice and you don't have time to research it. I don't like to do that. That's not how I play the game. I don't enjoy it. I don't feel good about it. If I see someone a year later, I want to be able to feel good. I want to be able to look them in the eye and be like, hey, how's the car going? Not like, man, did I get you on that one? I don't like that. I want it to be, if they were able to see everything that I can see, I still want them to believe they got a good deal. that being my mindset, it's very important that the customer be educated, because I've had customers who we were literally blowing the car out, $500 below where we'd normally be. I was selling Volkswagens at the time, especially, and there's not much discount in those. $1,000 discount goes all the way down to what the dealership owns it for. And there would be times where we'd go down $2,000 because it's the end of the month and it happened to line up perfectly. We need 3 more cars, and we sell 3 cars. VW give us $15,000, so we can give away an extra 500 or 1,000 and really pile it on there. But the customer didn't understand because they hadn't done the research and they didn't realize that they were getting a great deal. Well, whose fault is that? Yeah, they didn't do the research, but I was the salesman. If they didn't know they're getting a great deal, it's because I hadn't explained it in such a way. I hadn't presented it, developed the process in such a way that they understood they were getting a good deal. And ultimately, the key to success in sales is to basically take responsibility for everything onto yourself. Now, some things you really can't take responsibility for. Blizzard happens, you can't take responsibility for that. But your response to it, you certainly can. The economy turned down, you can't take responsibility for that. You can take responsibility for how you react to that, what you do about it. So, and when you look at everything as this is my responsibility, this is my fault, sales are down. And again, it's sales for you. If you're part of a sales team and the whole team is down, but you're up, well, you're probably doing good. I'm assuming you're not sabotaging your fellow salespeople. But if you take the responsibility onto yourself, if your sales drop and you say, okay, what did I do? Not, well, did the economy change? Why did the customer leave? Whatever. No, forget about anyone else. Forget about what anyone else is doing. What can you do now that you're in this situation? How can you change that? How can you react to it and build it up? Zig Ziglar says that the economy is never good or bad out there. It's only good or bad in here. There are many salespeople who did very well during even the Great Recession. There are probably even realtors who continued to make good money through the Great Recession, through the housing crash. It's simply a matter of being ready to adjust your strategy and pivot and move in a way that you are ready to be successful. And keeping that mindset that you can be successful, and now you just need to figure out how you're going to do it. I'm going to talk briefly about the importance of printed materials. New paragraph. Enter. Actually can't hit the enter key. It's under the phone. But that's okay. I don't know if the enter key would even do with this app open. The importance of printed material. Actually, wait, I had a question here. What's this? My microphone's off. Okay. Microphone's back on. I got a thumbs up on Facebook. On my radio show at 22 minutes, we take a break. And clearly that's why, because a show after 22 minutes explodes! The internet goes down, the connections go off, buttons stop getting pushed. It's great. I was only thinking by the third show, like this would be solid, this would be down, very professional, sharp looking show. Because the first show, if you go back on YouTube, I left the 10 minutes of playing with the computer in there because I figured people might have fun watching that. But this show was going to be like, all right, I got this agenda of things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to stick to it. We're going to be talking about business because this is a business show. It's business time. It is putting my fist in my hand time. No, it's Fight with Technology time because this is the Michael Fights with Technology, and occasionally in between talks about some business stuff. That's what this show is. But that's too long, so I just call it Michael Whitehouse Live. So if you are sitting at separate parts of the table, selling two different things, then basically do your own thing and try to separate and let them do their thing. If it's someone you actually have to work directly with, that's more of a challenge. That's a place where you need to actually engage with them, and possibly point out to them that the job of a salesperson is to sell. The job of a customer is not to buy. Not say their job is to avoid buying, but they don't have an obligation to buy. They don't have an obligation to like your stuff. You have an obligation to make your stuff good. So when you realize that, then you're going to make your stuff good, and you're going to, push them to, and you're going to make your pitch and your presentation good. But you need to realize that, and you may need to explain it to them. Or the other possibility is simply to maybe timeshare it a bit. That hey, why don't I cover it from 9 to noon, and then you can cover it from noon to 3. Now, well, you can do it your way during your block, and they can do it their way during their block. But whenever possible, don't let someone else's style mess up what you're doing. Do it your way, do what works for you. And if you have something that you might be able to teach them, great. If they're not willing to listen, if they're not interested, don't worry about it. Find a way to do your thing your way that works, hopefully. And separate. Don't let them interfere. So next thing I was going to talk about that was on my agenda before we had all this excitement was the importance of printed materials. So I spoke to a business recently who is doing they're just opening, and their marketing campaign is entirely radio and Facebook. So they're putting on Facebook their scheduled events. I believe they have a website also that has some information, but it's primarily Facebook and radio, and that's great. I'm a fan of Facebook when it works. Radio can also certainly work. A lot of people certainly still listen to it. It's an effective medium. But Facebook, as you know, has ever-changing rules. You do something on Facebook this week that works, you do it next week, it doesn't work because they changed how it works. So you don't really know. Also, it's ephemeral. You put something on Facebook today, it disappears into the mists. It's there, you can find it. That's why there's apps that can look back, and except for me, I apparently am not allowed to use time hop and leap and memories and whatnot. Facebook won't let me. My memory is apparently so bad that I don't even have a memory on Facebook. But all the stuff's there. But if I see something on Facebook and I want to go back and find it a week later, forget it. I'm not going to find it. It's so far buried that it might as well not be there. So Facebook is basically about a stream of information passing by, and when that stream passes in front of your prospect, you want them to act on it. But you need something to anchor that to, Yay, Amy. Thank you for the good news. I'm glad I will share that with all 4 of my remaining viewers that I lost because the internet crashed. But at least that news makes you feel better. So, but Facebook is a matter of grabbing that attention as they go by. If you don't get it, then it doesn't work. And radio raises awareness but does not convert. You can't click on a radio ad. You can't go to a radio ad. Yeah, sometimes you'll hear a radio ad and you'll stop and you'll go to your phone and go to the website. But there have been very few times I've pulled my car over so I could go to a website for something I heard about on the radio. Just does not happen often. So that's where printed materials come in. So this business is actually a place that I'm potentially interested in patronizing. But if I'm going to tell Amy about it, and I'll be like, hey, yeah, I went to this place. It was great. Here's their Facebook page and what they posted on it in the last 4 hours, which may or may not be the relevant information. And if we listen to the radio long enough, you might hear a radio ad. And they've got a website. We can look at that. None of those are as convincing as coming home being like, hey, honey, I went to this place. It's pretty great. I picked up this brochure. Take a look at it. Now you're holding the physical object in your hand. You're thumbing through it. It's physical. It's tactile. It's got that material. And then what are you going to do when you get a brochure? You get a brochure. You read through it. Do I even have any brochures here? Okay, this would be a great example if I had a brochure. I'd be like, oh, yeah, this brochure has been here for years. Actually, here's one. So this is a Badger Minute catalog. I make buttons. I have not bought buttons since January, February. Materials actually may have been further back than that. And I believe this came sometime, or it may have actually come in the box with it. So this has been sitting on my desk for 3 months. Because what do you do when you get this stuff? You look at it and say, this might be useful. You look through it and say, oh yeah, wow, look at that. Yeah, I'm going to toss this over here. Well, 3 months later, it's still there. So I take the brochure from the place. I show it to Amy. She says, oh, interesting. She hands it back to me. I put it on the table. I put it on the desk. I put it on a shelf somewhere. Well, guess what? 6 months later, we're cleaning up. I find the brochure again. Because that piece of marketing material is now planted somewhere in my house or in my car or in my backpack. Doesn't happen with Facebook. Facebook, into the mists. Radio, into the mists. If there were more people listening, they would have been very entertained by my magic. Start playing the final countdown because I can do magic. So it's important now those kinds of materials are not that expensive, especially compared, if you're doing radio, you're probably dropping $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. Why would you not support that with $200 of brochures to back it up? When someone comes in, they can walk out with something. So that's the importance of printed materials. It really gives you that tactile, permanent reminder of who you are, what you do, jazz hands, who you are, what you do. The people watching me on YouTube later, now that I've added the Facebook Live, are going to be like, because they can't see the Facebook comments like you guys can see. So they're going to come back later and be like, what is there someone next to him? Is there just people in his head? No, and well, kind of, and yes. But Jacob's entertained, and so hopefully Jacob would also be entertained watching it on YouTube. Because being on YouTube, you can watch it again and again and again, waiting for the show next week. All right, so getting on to more useful information. I got a request. I got a request for talking about prospecting and networking and cold calling. Hopefully, the people ask me are either watching this now or will be watching soon. So in every industry, no matter what you're selling, you need someone you can talk to. So in some businesses, it's easier than others. when I worked for American Income Life, they had methods that basically prospected for us. We didn't have to go out and do prospecting. There was no cold calling. There was, we weren't talking to businesses to figure out how to get their employees. They had systems in place, and it worked very well. When I worked for New York Life, on the other hand, we were supposed to find our own business. This was made even more difficult by the fact that we're not allowed to use social media. In fact, I'm not sure if I was even allowed to continue to have a Facebook page, or I could, but I couldn't mention any tightly controlled. There's a reason why I did not work for New York Life for very long, because I didn't make any money, because I couldn't sell anyone, because they didn't teach us how to prospect, because I didn't have Michael Whitehouse Live. If only I could have talked to Michael Whitehouse in the future, I would have learned that I should have quit sooner. But I would have learned that if I wasn't going to quit, what I could have done. So there's a couple different ways that you can prospect and find these people. One is cold calling. I actually cold call quite a bit in my job at Minuteman Press. My job is, among other things, to have visited basically every business in my territory at one time or another, because we sell materials that almost every business uses. Every business at least has business cards. Many have brochure, well, except for that one that I went to that has absolutely nothing printed at all. But they'll come around eventually. But every business pretty much has business cards. They often have some flyers, forms, brochures, pens. There's something they print. Now, whether they want us to print it or not is another question. But if they print something, we've got something to talk about. You print, I'm a printer. All I'm trying to do is to get my foot in the door, get something to talk to them about, find out what they print, and then come back and let them know what we charge to do it. That's the opening of a conversation. That's all it is cold calling, basically saying, you have printing needs. And there's an actual script we use. It's probably proprietary, so I probably shouldn't be saying it in the show. But if anyone wants to know what my pitch is off the air, let me know, and I'll be happy to let you know, because I know it really well by now. I've done it 900 times. But it's basically saying, you print stuff, or you have stuff to print. We print stuff. Let me tell you how much it's going to cost, and see if maybe you want to do some business with us. It's a lot slicker than that. Kind of. Well, it depends on how well I'm working that day. But you can do that in business to business. You can't do that in business to personal very well, because financial products, it's very difficult to do it with, because everyone needs it, but it's either they already have a financial advisor or they don't realize they need one. Life insurance is really difficult, because everyone needs life insurance, because everyone who is alive is at some point going to die. And when they die, immediately a $10,000 to $15,000 liability appears to their family. Boom! And that's a bad thing. By the way, if you don't have life insurance, you should, because when you die, a $10,000 to $15,000 liability will appear for your family, and $15,000 of coverage doesn't cost much at all. You should have more than that, probably, especially if you have kids, but that's a side tangent. And I'm saying this as someone who's not an insurance agent anymore. I just believe everyone should have life insurance. Like, there's no reason not to. But the problem is, really hard to go up to a stranger and be like, hey, so I notice you're alive. And you know what that means? You're going to die. And I would like to talk to you about that in a way that involves you eventually giving me money to take care of your needs when you die. Can we talk about that? If you could actually pull off doing exactly what I just did, that might actually get you appointments. It gets you slapped a lot too, and possibly police called now and then, because it kind of makes you sound like a serial killer also. But it's really difficult in that situation. If you're selling Beachbody, Isogenics, Jackley, any of the health type drinks, that's another one that's kind of awkward. Be like, so I notice you're fat. I can help you with that with this product I sell. They'll probably also get you, the slapping and maybe the punching and the policing, and So not an effective strategy. Fortunately for the broad approach, we do have the wonderful thing that is social networking. You know, Facebook and YouTube and whatnot. For financial services, I believe one of the people who asked me about networking, financial services is usually very limited what you're allowed to do because every word has to go by the censors to make sure you're in SEC compliance. So this won't help you as much. But for anyone else, if you're selling any kind of product, kind of goes back to something I was saying before, that you can use, you can set up your own live show. YouTube, Facebook Live is ridiculously easy to use if you haven't done it before. Unfortunately, you can't do it on a computer, I don't think. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe you can, I just haven't found the button, but it seems to only be on mobile devices. But still, you take your phone, you put it on a stand, you hit go, and you suddenly have a live show. It's not quite as targeted, it's kind of like buckshots out to your friend group, but talk about something interesting and educational and don't have your internet drop, and you get a bit of a following. So, from my phone being here, I can't actually see what time it is. Previously, it was fine because I was just watching the timer on how long I'd been live, and I'd know when that hits an hour, there's 9 o'clock, and we're done. But then it had to restart. I'm actually not familiar with Periscope. Shamefully enough, I did learn about Snapchat recently. I know how that works. Periscope is the next thing I need to explore. So there is a gap in my knowledge. It is Periscope. My knowledge apparently goes, and Periscope's in here. That was a subtle mathematical pun for anyone who's paying attention. But the other kind of networking besides going online and social media, which is kind of an obvious thing to talk about here. Just realized I covered the camera with my hand there. I apologize. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing my lovely palm. Probably the finest hand you'll see on the internet all night. The other kind of networking is live in-person networking. So, as you may be aware, sometimes people gather in places, and like a bunch of people in the same place, and they talk to each other with their mouths and then listen with their ears with no electronic device in between. They still do this, believe it or not, even in the social media age, because digital contact does not take the place in any way, shape, or form of physical, live human contact. You can't shake hands through the screen. I mean, yeah, I guess I can like grab the phone, shake it, but it would probably give you more the experience of having someone grab your head than shake your hand. So I go to a lot of networking events. Wherever you are, there's probably a chamber of commerce if you're in any kind of populated area. There's other networking events as well. There's groups like Rotary, and you can. So there's the networking events themselves where you can go and just meet people, just walk up. And we're getting close to the end of the hour, so I'm not going to go too much in detail tonight about that. But basically, you are going there to talk to strangers, and they are going there to talk to strangers too. So don't worry if you don't know anyone. You're not necessarily supposed to. You're supposed to meet people you don't already know. That is how you play that game. So feel free to walk up to people and say, "Hi, my name is Michael." However, if your name is not Michael, I recommend you use your own name, because it'd be awkward if you walk up and say, "Hi, my name is Michael," and you're not named Michael. Although I suppose it'd be a conversation starter. "Hi, my name is Michael." Name's not actually Michael. Actually, Jacob. Whatever name you prefer, use that. But don't be afraid to just walk up to people, talk to them. The important thing when you are networking, very, very important, rule number 1, you are not there to sell. You are there to connect. Nobody wants to get pitched at a networking event. You'll generally be talking to people for 5 minutes or less. You don't want to tie them down because they're there to meet a lot of people. You are there to make a connection. which means talk to them, listen to what they do, what they have to say, wait till you get an opening, and they'll eventually ask you, so what do you do? And then you give, your little elevator pitch about, you might mention that you sell something, but don't be like, and it's this, and it's great, and it's this, and we're having a thing tomorrow, and you should really come to it. Think about what they might be interested in and float it out there, but don't try to close them. And if you think there's any amount of interest, then by all means say, hey, why don't we, I'd love to meet up with you later and talk to you a bit more in detail. But really the goal of a networking event is to find the people who might introduce you to the people who are going to buy. So there's that kind of networking. The other thing that can be very effective if you are trying to, get word out there of a thing you do, is speaking, finding places to speak. There are often a lot of places that are looking for speakers. Rotary clubs, for example. I'm in the Groton Rotary Club, and we attempt to have a speaker every week. There are 52 weeks in the year. That means we need 52 speakers in the year. Now, you cannot come and give them a sales pitch, but you can come and give them a talk about nutrition, or a talk about why my nose is so itchy while I'm on camera. Okay, I don't think they will accept your talk about itchy noses, but you always give it a shot. So for those who wonder what I'm doing when I do this, my Facebook Messenger app was up here in the corner. I just moved down here so I can be a little more subtle. So, whatever it is they're talking about. So if you're a financial advisor, you're generally allowed to speak privately to anyone. So you can speak to a group, you just can't be recorded and have it put out publicly. So you can go and talk to a Rotary Club about how to manage your money, how to manage your assets, changes in Social Security in the last 5 years, any of those kinds of things. All you're trying to do is sound knowledgeable, because hopefully you are knowledgeable. And when you speak and you sound knowledgeable, what you will find is that people want more of your knowledge, because there's a reason why financial advising is an industry and people make a living at it. It's because people need one, and they need one that they can trust and that they like and who knows what he or she is talking about. So by basically giving that free sample and going up there and giving the talk, people might listen and be like, wow, that guy knows what he's talking about. And after the talk, they may find you and say, hey, could I get your business card? I'd love to talk to you more. I could use some more of your advice because, sorry, nose is still itchy. It's a camera thing. When I'm on the radio, my nose never itches. Now I'm on camera, you can see it, and I'm like, but I'm done now. But so, once you talk a bit, they might ask you for your card and want to, meet up later and turn into a customer, because that's really what the whole name of the game is about there. So speaking is definitely a good thing. A person to look up if you're interested in learning a bit more about speaking and using that to build your business. There's a woman named Angela Lucier. I believe it's Lucier, I think. She's up in the Springfield area. I was actually in a Toastmasters club with her. And she started a business which is all about teaching people how to follow their passion in business, starting their own businesses and finding jobs that are meaningful and that kind of thing. But she got started entirely by speaking, by booking talks. And if I can find the link, I will share it on Facebook to the interview with her, where she talks about where she got started and how she got started by giving a series of talks at the Northampton Public Library. And she went out, she spoke, at one of the talks. Someone afterwards came up to her and said, hey, do you do coaching? How much do you charge for coaching? And she was so early in the business that she hadn't occurred to her to come up with a pay structure. She was just like, yes, of course I do. Yes, let me get back to you. But when you speak, people discover like, oh, I want to know more about this. Let me, how can I work with you? How can I hire you to do this? So that can really help to get your name out as well. I was also going to talk a bit about closing. in closing, let's see, what time is it? Yeah, it's almost 9 o'clock, but that's fine, because if you're still listening, I can still be talking. I won't get tired until at least 9:05, because I'm an old parent and can't stay up that late anymore. In closing, so we talked in one of the previous shows about the 7 steps to the sale, and the fact that you should have the upside down triangle should be the goal. So I put this on the screen before, but I can't. So I was going to draw a triangle on this pink piece of paper. I'm still going to do it. I'm going to use it for a demonstration. So this is going to be the pink triangle demonstration. I put it on the screen before, but since I'm on 2 screens, I don't think I can put the screen there anymore. So here we have 2 triangles. One is right side up and one is upside down. This is a very gay demonstration. Not in a pejorative way, just in an upside down pink triangle sort of way. So this is the shape that your sales process should have, an upside down triangle. So at the top of it is your rapport, your needs analysis. Then you narrow down to a presentation, and by the time you get to the close, it should just happen. Just let it happen. Make it easy. So if your rapport building is quick, you don't really do it, you skip over it, you don't do a lot of needs analysis, don't really know what they need, you do a generic presentation that doesn't tell them why your product is perfect for them, yeah, your close is going to be down here. You're going to be overcoming objection after objection after objection after objection, and you'll be banging your head against the wall. If you're selling a car and you're trying to do that, you're going to be giving money away left, right, and sideways to try to make the deal. But if you do it with the upside down triangle, then by the time you get to the end, it's like building a court case. And in conclusion, as you can see, this is the perfect product for you. You should say yes, buy the product. You will often get objections. The objection you will most often get is price. Why? Not because it's too expensive, but because price is an easy objection. It's really easy to say, costs too much. Now the objection, maybe they don't like the color, they don't like the size, they don't like the way your hair is parted, they don't like any number of things, but price is the easy go-to. Because there is a price at which they might be willing to buy. If I show you a car and it's $17,000, it's the complete wrong car for you, well, you don't want to buy it. But if I told you, okay, we can knock the price down to $6,000, you might choke that one down. Because, well, it's $6,000 for a car. Okay, fine. That's so cheap. How can I go wrong? Might as well. Of course, you can't go to $6,000. You can't get anywhere near it. So when you hit that kind of objection, you discover what the true objection is. Is it really price? And if it is price, then why is the price too high? And more likely, if it's not price, then what is the real objection? Is it too small, too big, too red, too blue, too fast, too slow, whatever it is? Without talking about specific examples, it's a little more difficult. But dig down on that, and sometimes you can do that with hypothetical questions. You can ask someone point blank, like, okay, 17,000. Let me ask you a question. What is the price that I could say that would make you say yes? And don't worry about offending me. Give me a stupid number. What ridiculous number? If I said yes, you'd buy it. Some people play along, some people won't. But if they come back with, I don't know, I don't know if there really is one. Well, if there isn't one, if 0, they still wouldn't buy it if you couldn't give it to them. Or if you cut the price in half, they still wouldn't buy it. Well, you're probably on the wrong product, or you haven't explained it properly. So that's you adjust it. And so before you go through all this discounting or jump through all these hoops, make sure the objection is actually price. And then if it's not price, then what is it really? So if you're selling, say, a nutritional supplement and they're not interested, the question is why? Do they not feel they need it? Do they not believe what you're saying about it? Do they think it is honestly too expensive because it's a long commitment? Do they not want to be stuck on this product for the next 20 years, paying $200 a month for whatever it is? And one of the best closing strategies you can use is simply the question, why? If someone says, no, I'm not interested, I'm just not interested, just say, why? Many people will just tell you, they'll just answer. So, you say, why? They might tell you, they might not. Another great thing to do is to turn something around. This is a Zig Ziglar technique. Whatever they say, just turn it into a question. I'm not interested in the product. You're not interested in the product? And just let that question hang. And in the silence, they're going to give you some kind of answer. So that brings us to the end of the hour. I'll go into closing a bit more in detail next week and talk about various other things. I will also talk about the sales techniques, politics aside, the sales techniques of Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump, because there's very interesting to look at their salesmanship strategies. They're actually diametrically opposite. Yes, I know it's shocking to suggest that Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders are diametrically opposite in any way, but indeed they are. But that concludes our show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for those of you who came back after the glitch in the middle of the hour. And I'm Michael Whitehouse. That'll do.